everybody, and welcome back for the third, and I'm going to go ahead and say final time of 2023. I'm just going to end this upload fest with an opinion piece, something that I've been thinking about ever since the next season of anime was actually announced. So there are two anime in particular that kind of sparked this thought process in me, and that's Chainedsoldier and Gushing Over Magical Girls. Now, I'm familiar with both of these because I read the manga. So, Gushing Over Magical Girls, I think I'm 6 or 7 volumes in, and Chainedsoldier, I'm 4 or 5 volumes in. Both very ecchi manga, both very inappropriate manga, both parental advisory manga, both things I never thought I would see in animated form. And that brought me to my thought process. How far are we going to push the anime broadcasting? So the last few times this came up, we had Goblinslayer, we had Interspecies and we had redoofhealer. So I'm not a Goblinslayer person, so I didn't watch that one. But Interspecies I've read the manga. I watched the anime. The anime was incredibly difficult to watch because after the first couple of episodes, it got pulled across the boards for basically all US streaming sites. It was pulled. I believe it was airing on ATX in Japan, which to my knowledge is very similar to HBO here in the States. And so to be able to stream it in the States, you kind of had to go to underhanded methods, which was also the same thing that happened with redoofhealer. Now, I will say redoofhealer was not pulled, but it was massively edited due to content going so far as to there was one scene in an episode where it cut to a still image of a fireplace for nearly a minute and a half. So once again, to be able to watch the uncut version, you had to kind of wait for fan subs for the ATX broadcast, which was not particularly ideal. High Dive, the streaming service, stated that they were going to be showing the ATX version of redoofhealer. This was not true. They did not do that. So it kind of fell to the same methods you had to do to be able to watch interspecies reviewers. So that brought me to my thought process of how are they going to get away with Gushing Over Magical Girls and Chainedsoldier, both with extreme amounts of nudity, Gushing Over Magical Girls having extreme sadistic imagery, and I've been trying to do a bunch of research on this topic, and High Dive themselves have said that they will be fully airing the ATX versions of these, albeit with audio changes. The video won't be any different from ATX, but the audio will be changed. Now, the audio is not where I find too much issues with now. Gushing Over Magical Girls, yes, the audio, some of the things that they say in it will probably be massively cut. Chainedsoldier, however, is going to be more of, well, they both are going to be pushing to extremes with the video that's being pushed out, and I don't really know how High Dive is getting away with it. Generally speaking, when uncut animes or censored animes, things such as High School DxD, when they come to the States or when they stream here initially, we have the censored versions on Crunchyroll. Funimation used to do things a little bit different, but RIP Funimation, it's now been absorbed into Crunchyroll, and they haven't kept up with what Funimation used to do. So now what we usually wait on is we have the censored versions here in the States until the home video DVD Blu-ray sets release in Japan, at which point Funimation used to update their streams with the uncensored versions. Now, this has not always been the case, as the last season of High School DxD, I believe it's season 4, to the best of my knowledge, on Crunchyroll is still edited, and that has been on DVD and Blu-ray for years. Now, I understand the concept of why they do this. They're trying to get DVD and Blu-ray sales. I don't fault the hustle. It's just very strange to me, especially with seeing what High Dive has been trying to do, where they state, we have all the uncensored shows, but they've not been able to keep that promise. So I'm very curious as to the differences that are going to be upcoming this I think we're going into the winter season, this winter 2023 season of Gushing Over Magical Girls and Chainedsoldier. Now, I know that High Dive has been pushing that they are going to pull the ATX editions of these two shows, and a lot of people are thinking it's due to the fact that High Dive only has 5 exclusives out of this upcoming season, whereas Crunchyroll is getting 30-something different ones. So once again, High Dive is falling behind and they have to differentiate themselves, so they're stating that they're going to do this. Now, I truly hope that is the case, as I would like to watch these two shows uncensored. I would like to see what I would be getting if I were in Japan, albeit with English subtitles, as my Japanese is poor. But I am concerned and worried that we're going to fall into the same case as Redoofhealer. Now, I don't think we're going to get the interspeciesreviewers treatment, as that was not on High Dive to begin with. I believe that aired before High Dive was really big in the space. That was on Funimation, and Funimation pulled it after, I believe it was just a ton of different complaints. High Dive seems to operate a bit differently than that and does not have a large overarching company above them to force them to make this decision. Also, with seeing a lot of the shows that High Dive has kept up with over the years, I think it's safe to say that these two shows will remain active, being able to stream them. I am just concerned that they're not going to keep their promise, and we're going to fall into a Redoofhealer situation where we're promised the ATX broadcast, but that's not what we get. Now, only time will tell if that is the case. I believe we have another week or so until those shows start airing. So I may be making a follow-up video once we actually know what's happening. That being said, I think we're kind of in the golden age of anime pushing boundaries. And that's the thing that I really want to breach with this topic, albeit I went on a long tangent of wondering if High Dive's going to keep their promise. But the thing is, we've progressively been getting more and more anime that back 10 years ago would never have been made into shows due to sexual content, due to extreme violence, due to sadistic tendencies. These are things that have all been in recent years. I would say within the last probably 4 years, 4 to 5 years, all of these shows have been coming out. There have been some here and there that have slipped through the cracks, but like I said, the big ones prior to this have been Goblinslayer, albeit that was mainly just the first episode's content, Interspeciesreviewers, which was the entire show, and Redoofhealer, which was the entire show. Now, Interspeciesreviewers kind of got the short end of the stick being completely pulled, which is unfortunate, as the show and the manga are absolutely hilarious. I do understand the sexual content gripes, but that's just being very prudish when it comes to the fact that it's a comedy. It's not for kids. Don't be stupid. Redoofhealer was more on the fact that its brutal subject matter involved a lot of things that had to be censored. I don't know of anyone who hasn't read the manga or watched the show who didn't feel a little bit dirty afterwards, because you can't root for anyone in that show. The main protagonist is actually an antagonist, and all of the antagonists are just absolutely horrible. It is a tried and true revenge story through and through, where no one is the winner. But due once again to people's concerns and the sadistic behavior of the show, it was massively edited here in the States, so we lost out on some of the show. And the parts that you were missing really goes to show you, were really there to show you the extremes that the MC was going to go through to enact his revenge. Not pleasant to watch, not redeeming remotely, but necessary for the context of the story. Now, Gushing Over Magical Girls is slightly different. We have a girl who is obsessed with magical girls, but she's also kind of a sadistic monster who becomes an evil magical girl and basically takes her sadistic thoughts out on the magical girls that she worships. The problems I see here are the ages of the characters in question. Yes, they are illustrations. I'm fully aware of that. That's an argument that's Reddit will forever through and through insult you for. But therein lies the first problem: the amount of nudity, the sadistic nature of the characters, the bad language, the violence, the overall tone of the show is brutal. Well, the manga is brutal, so I'm concerned with the show. And Chained Soldier is basically the world is run by women, and the main character basically gets enslaved more or less by women protecting the world from monsters. Every time he utilizes powers to help them, it is a contract upon which they have to reciprocate an equal amount to him based on how much effort he put in, and it always turns sexual. So Chain Soldier, I think we're going to kind of fall into possibly where World's End Harem went, where it's just going to cut certain scenes, have some very intricate blurring. Now that is only if we don't get the ATX releases, although I am curious, as to having read the manga, how they will go about interpreting it into the anime. So how far are we going to push this? How are we going to start getting hentai on ATX? I mean, we've been close. Interspecies Reviewers was just a couple camera angles away. And I think right now, like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the uncensored nature of these things. I enjoy the creativity. I enjoy the ability to express. I enjoy the ability to be able to see these things. I have no worry. I'm going to watch these shows. I've watched almost all of the ones I've mentioned through. I'm not the prude here. I'm all for these, but I'm concerned as to, if the shows keep coming out, how far is it going to push before there's pushback? That's what I'm concerned about. Don't get me wrong, I want High Dive to be able to get the ATX releases. I want to be able to see these things how they are aired there. But is it pushing a bit too far too quickly with the censorship that it is going to get to here in the States? That's what I'm concerned about. But what are your thoughts on this? Are you happy that these shows are coming? Have you watched the mangas? Have you seen any of the stuff that I've mentioned? They're all fairly notorious shows at this point. So I'm curious, are you concerned at the pushback that could potentially happen in the States? Do you think High Dive's actually going to get the ATX releases? Do you care at all? I know I care a little bit more than some people, because some people are like, I just watch Dragon Ball Z. And that's okay as well, but this is for the people that have been paying attention to these topics. These are things that they've been cropping up a lot lately. They're things that when I was younger I never would have assumed we would have ever gotten. And like I said, I've been reading Gushing Over Magical Girls for over a year, Chainedsoldier for months now. I never thought we were going to get anime adaptations of these two shows, so I'm very, very curious to see how they come out. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off on this video and wish everyone who watches this a Happy New Year. I hope your holidays have been grand, joyous, time off if you get any. And I'll see you again in 2024. I'm going to have a whole host of videos kind of going down through the new season as I watch those shows. I'm going to hopefully get them out as quick as humanly possible. I have to beat Mother's Basement, Glass Reflection, and Gigook. I need to get my videos out. I know they wait to get through everything in the new season before they give their little opinions on everything. I like to go week by week. That way I can make non-hour-long videos. Since I edit everything myself, it takes a while if I do those long. So it's a little bit easier to do 4 or 5 shows at a time and just kind of give my initial thoughts. But yeah, Happy New Year's, everybody out there. As per always, read more manga, watch more anime. Guys, have a safe one.